Welcome back to the Fear
and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies,
and just a little bit of beer.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Shamus.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Did you miss me?
Aren't you drinking? I never drink. Why?
Before we get into tonight's episode, we want to remind all of those listening on Apple Podcasts to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us grow as a podcast and build our audience. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, follow us, and don't forget to share with friends and family who might have a little bit of the strange in them as well.
And while you're on those socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to find us, Fear and Beer Pod. Give us a like, share, and you can always message us. We love to interact with all you guys. We're getting better at this thing. This YouTube setup page. We got changed our lighting around a little bit. We added some little trinkets, some knickknacks.
It's almost like we know what we're doing.
I know we're slowly but surely getting there. Oh, you know what? I got one more little trinket. I gotta add. Actually, you know what? Nah,
This is good for now.
that'll give away too much. I don't feel like redecorating mid-swing. Maybe he'll make it out next week. We'll try and deck this out a little bit. I got plenty of stuff, so maybe we can bring some stuff down that we're talking about that week. But this week we are talking about IPs that have never made it to HHN as a full house. And I'm being specific in that term because a lot of ideas that have been tossed around have made appearances at HHN, but it's generally in a portion of a house, or it has been in the past. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but Shamus and myself have each picked out our top 5 IPs that have yet to be used at HHN that we would like to see. So this is a personal list. These are they might differ, they might be the same, but I'm excited to get into this because we asked this question on Monday and we got a lot of responses. So again, thank you to the fans for voting and pretty much participating in this episode, because this is another episode that kind of came together because of the interactions with all you. So thank you for kicking back on that. But I think we should get into some beer first because we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight, I think.
Yeah, we should do that. I don't know if we have very themed beers. I'm just lazy and haven't gone back to the
lazy
liquor.
But this is one of my favorite beers of all time.
So the one I guess, you know what? I'm going to tie this in a little bit. So mine is Peanut Butter Deja Mu. It's a peanut butter version of Hidden Springs Deja Mu, which is more basically a common, not a common, but they're more traditional. Like
it's a non-special beer. They have like the Deja Mu.
Yeah, it's like a milk stout that they typically do. Peanut Butter Deja Mu is like a special version of that because obviously it has peanut butter in it. What's cool about it is it's got the cocoa nibs like normal. It's got peanut butter, and then of course the normal chipotle chilies in it. So it's gonna be like a spicy Reese's cup, and it's amazing. And I've had it before, so it's not like something that's like new to me, but it is really just really good. If you're into like any type of milk stout, this is definitely one to check out.
Yep.
And you know what? It does kind of make sense because it's deja vu. I think we've talked about stuff like this before. It's a good chance our episodes are bleeding into each other at this point.
Yeah, but thanks for sticking around anyways.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for listening to us regardless.
But I have this week, this is from Prairie Artisan Ales, and I think I've had this one before, and this is themed. It's the Christmas Bomb. And it's an imperial stout brewed with spices. This thing's an 11% alcohol.
It's so good.
It is tasty. And the way I'll tie it in is I do have some honorable mentions that are revolved around the Christmas theme.
So there you go then. So it ties in a little bit.
It does theme up.
I mean, it helps that,
I'll show these cases off for the
It helps that it helps that Prairie makes bomb like all of their bomb variants are amazing. Christmas bomb is really good, normal bomb is really good, birthday bomb is really good. So it's funny enough, we both have stouts. if you're a stout drinker or porter drinker, definitely check out both of these. One is local to Florida. Obviously, Hidden Springs is one of our favorites from Tampa. Prairie is somewhere out in the Midwest. I forget exactly where they're located, but
It's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. There you go. They're really, really good. Literally everything I've ever had from Prairie is awesome. They're a little bit more expensive, especially if you can get them in your area.
Yeah,
but
they're tough to get. These are like
they're hard to
I want
get.
to say they're
That's
like
why.
$12 for just the one bottle.
Right, and that's exactly it. Like, it's not so much that like they're just gouging everybody. It's just that they make such low numbers that you can only get so many of them in one place. So if you can find it, it's worth the money. So definitely check them out.
Oh, God, I love that.
I screwed up. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's
Ooh, that's nice.
the smell on this always gets me. It's so spicy.
Oh,
And
mine smells like a peanut butter
And
cup.
this is
baby.
mud. It's hard to see because I'm trying to pour it without spilling it.
As I like to say, it looks like motor oil.
Yeah, you could probably swap this into your car.
It's like drinking motor oil.
You wouldn't notice the
I
difference.
love the head on this one though. Like,
It's so dark.
it's how chocolatey
Yeah.
it looks. Like, it looks like chocolate milk almost.
Yeah, mine doesn't. These one doesn't have like as much head, but it's got a lot of cinnamon, a lot of ginger, a lot of nutmeg. I've had this before plenty of times, so we don't have to really go in depth about the taste profiles to an extent. But this thing is good. So if you're a fan of like darker beers, if you're a fan of spicy beers in any way, this is definitely try and sneak this thing out if you can. So let's get into these lists, and before we do that, we had, like I said, we ran a poll on Instagram, and there was a lot of good responses. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through and list off of a couple of these that came through our way, and shout out the people that made it happen. But a lot of people said, it has to be Scream or The Conjuring. That was I'm butchering this. That was from Horror Nights STE on Instagram. We got Extra Trispy saying literally anything from Stephen King, and yeah, you're
Well,
right.
You gotta fan me, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
We have MST 3K Dude saying Night of the Demons. Should be interesting.
That's an interesting choice.
Yep. Tyler SI 66 Hellraiser. We've got a lot of
we're definitely
Hellraiser
gonna talk
love.
about Hellraiser tonight, I think.
We got the Parks We Go suggested The Last of Us, a video game series. I think
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah, Last of Us.
they just had the part 2 a year or so ago, maybe.
Yeah.
It came out.
A lot of the games kind of bleed together, so I think that's the one that Sega did, if I remember correctly.
Alex Artist said The Descent, good one. Art of Partying, the boys, shout out. My Bloody Valentine would have been cool. That'd be a fun.
That would be an
little
interesting house.
Let's see. Trickiest Dick, Guar.
It's a phenomenal name.
Guar would be amazing. We've talked about Guar in our past episode.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned Guar before.
We did an episode for best like what musical artists should come around.
Yeah.
And they definitely made the list. Sophie the Diz Kid, The Grudge, even though they would probably need to be escorted from that house. Crying face emoji, circly emoji. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That would probably be pretty terrifying. Mickey04 said Tremors and Halloween 3. Those are all good ones. There's a lot more on here.
I see
and we
you
got
with
some
the Halloween
responses
3.
on Twitter
see
as
you.
well. But let's let's jump in to and I would say we'll start from the bottom. But before that, do you have any honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list? Because I got a couple that I in this list, like I feel like if I spent more time on it, it would have ended or come up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I think I just kind of rushed through a little bit.
I think my only honorable mentions really would be like Hellraiser. I think would be one of them, and only because we had kind of talked about it a little bit. They have done a scene of it in one other house. Again, I'm not an expert on all of the various years, so I don't really remember exactly what was done when.
Yeah, that was the All Night Die-In Take 2 at Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, I have another kind of a honorable mention, even though they've done a house already, but I think they need to bring it back. It's just another Friday house. I don't think they've done another Friday house in years, so
It's probably been since Freddy versus Jason, I think.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah, and I
that's
think
still,
and that's not even so much just a Friday house altogether. It's
Yeah.
like Freddy and Jason. But yeah, other than that, don't really have a whole lot of honorable mentions. I think the only other one I would probably call an honorable mention would be, and this is only because this is might be a harder property to do, and they've already kind of worked some of his stuff into their own stories. But H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Like a Call of Cthulhu house, or I know that some, I believe, a lot of their original ideas, some of them have pulled some Lovecraftian style creatures or stories and kind of brought that in. I think that maybe potentially doing a strictly like a full-on H.P. Lovecraft type house.
Yeah.
Send us to Amherst, or send us somewhere where it's based like right out of the stories. Give us all those crazy visuals that are so hard to describe in words.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool, but probably not cool enough for a lot of people to make the actual list.
Yeah. As far as like honorable mentions, I put a couple. I think I have 3 houses that Gremlins, I think, is a house that deserves to be mentioned for me. I know it's been speculated. It was speculated last year. I don't know if it's still being speculated for this year, but it's one of those like fun little houses. And as you can see, we do have a little token of gremlinism up here. Some spoilers, possibly, if you look around the room, as to where our allegiances are going to lie. And another one, the one that I was referencing with my beer choice, the Christmas bomb, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Maybe his favorite. Maybe it's like, just because I'm thinking about it, because we previously just watched it not long ago. But I think that would be fun. I'm also like with Krampus, I'm a sucker for those Christmas themed houses. I'm a sucker for temperature control. It would just be funny to be scared by a guy in a Santa suit and an axe.
Right.
Like, it's a nonsensical house.
It's why it's why I'm jealous that I never got to see the Thing house.
Yeah.
Bring it back, HHN.
Right.
Bring it back.
And then my last honorable mention would be Seven.
That's a good. Actually, I didn't even think of that.
And I know that they have had like 7 Deadly Sins, and they had that before as a scare
it's kind of
zone.
it's their own thing
and
too,
it was,
right?
Yeah,
It wasn't.
It'd be cool, like revisiting some of the scenes in there.
Yeah, you could use the characters and maybe a little more direction with it when you have to come up with so much of your stuff on your own.
Yeah. Oh, and another one, 13 Ghosts.
That's another good
That'd
one.
be a perfect little house. But those are all honorable mentions. They are not on my actual list. So let's get into our lists, and we will start with number 5. For me, and again, these top 5 IPs that we're choosing, we are throwing rights out the window. I have no idea where they land in the rights world. These are just strictly movies that I would like to see translated into a house because I think it would work.
Yeah, it's preferences for us. It's not. We're not doing this.
No logistics.
Like we're not thinking about like, well, how possible is it? Could it happen? It probably won't happen. Probably would never happen. But it's kind of just like a wish list. Like I said, we've done something like this in the past, similar. I don't know if it was necessarily a wish list, more so just like what could an IP house be?
Yeah.
With that one, we kind of thought a little bit harder on. Could they actually do it? Like, would it actually happen? This is more of just we miss Halloween. It's only February.
Fantasy thing
we need to start talking about some horror movies and horror stuff. So that's what this is all about. So I think we have one probably that's going to be the same.
Probably.
I don't know if we actually match up anything more than that, but
let's see.
Did you sort yours in any particular order?
I did. I went from 5 to 1. 1 being my most wanted.
Okay, I'll try to do that too then.
Okay.
So if you want to start,
I'll start with my number 5. Number 5, and again, I've talked about this house in the past. I feel like recently, and the movie lends itself, I think, very well to a house. And there has been backlash about the director being a dirtbag. So we're not even going to mention the director's name.
It's a lot of different directors.
Yeah, we're not even going to mention that, but it's Jeepers Creepers.
Okay, we've talked about that. Yep.
I think that the simplicity of the movie and the setting would be really fun to walk through. I think the villain, obviously, the Creeper, is just such a cool costume. You're talking about like iconic horror looks, with Jason with the mask and Michael Myers mask and Freddy with the claws. I think the Creeper is up there with that that recognizable look. He's not just like another person.
I would agree, because I think when we talked about it a couple episodes ago, not only does it just lend itself to a good theme and a good just aesthetic, but it also kind of just follows along what's been really popular the last few years. I mean, that country style, barn style, scarecrow thing we've done. They've been really successful with a couple scarecrow type houses. Obviously, the Pumpkin Lord house was really popular last year, and that kind of lends itself a little bit to that as well. So yeah, I think there's so much you can do with it. And I think, like you said, the creature. That's for me. That would be the most important thing. Is just get the creature right. And get your scare actors right, because that's really what's going to drive.
And you get like the close up. I mean, think of like this year when they did 3 different sections of houses where they had those big heads and they push out at you. Like they had the big pumpkin, they had the big Beetlejuice, they had it in Case Files with the big devil mask. Imagine that as like the creeper with his like jowls coming out. And they have that thing pushed out. That'd be cool. You could do like wire work where he's flying at you.
I was just gonna say
stuff like that.
You could do something where like one of those sections of the house that like almost like a long like bridge type of area, but what you do is make it look like it's outside, get like the fans going, and then have the noise of like the bat
flapping
type the flapping, so like feels like they're coming at you.
And I would even combine 1 and 2. Like I would do scenes of like the school bus. Because I think that was just as iconic.
I think you would have to do both movies. I don't know if you could do a whole house just on one. Not that they couldn't do it. I think that you'll get more value out of using scenes from both movies.
And it's not one that would happen twice. I don't
it's
think
not, right,
people would be like, oh, now we need Jeepers Creepers 2.
Right, exactly.
Just do it once,
just
get
do
it all done
one
with.
move, but just do like one big house for
Throw some like
both
subtle tagline on and call it a day.
Yep, that makes sense. So is this my 5?
Yep.
So this is my 5th most wanted IP. We looked pretty hard to see if we could find if this actually existed or not, because Nick did think that it did, but we can't find it. So if we're wrong,
I don't think it is.
Let us know. But my 5 is Amityville Horror.
Okay.
I think that obviously it's a haunted house movie. There's a lot of controversy with that story. Obviously, we know that a lot of people, it's been not necessarily proven fake, but it's been pretty much debunked as being a fake story for the most part. But I still think that the story of in and of itself is really great, and it lends itself to a haunted house. So I don't care how fake it is. The original movie is really good. I actually really like the remake. I know everybody hates it, but Ryan Reynolds, my boy. Anytime I get to see Ryan Reynolds half naked, I'm totally down for that. But in all seriousness, that movie also I think was pretty good. And then the book too. If you've ever read the book, everybody knows I'm a reader, so I've read the book a couple times. And I think there's a lot of scenes that you can borrow from both the movie and the book and make a pretty well represented house to fit the story itself. So there are things within the book that obviously you don't get in the movies, and obviously things that were added for the movie that weren't in the book. So I think you could do kind of like a combo and just pick out the greatest scenes and all of that stuff and do a house around that. So like, have a scene where you pump in the fly noise, and you have like what looks like flies covering windows and stuff, and make
that'd be cool.
that icky gross type room where you hear all the flies and stuff, and you might get like the demon pig in a window type thing.
That'd be cool.
There's a number of things, bleeding walls, a lot of like the main iconic stuff from that story, from those movies, that I think you can pull into a house. And the cool thing is, I know that with this one it might be, obviously it doesn't really lend itself to scare actors in a way, but I don't necessarily think you need a ton of scare actors for a house like this. I think a lot of it would be environmental, and like even like you said, you can make like the demon pig one of those big push out type scares, and have a lot of the scares be like oral or binaural, or like try to get you looking one way and then get you with something else another way, and have maybe less human scare elements and just more behind the scenes, get you from behind the scenes type stuff. So
that'd be good.
I think that'd be kind of cool to see. I don't know if it'll ever happen, and like we said, we're not sure that it ever has happened. If it has in the past and we are just unaware of it, let us know. But as of right now, we don't think it has, and I just think it would work.
So then want to go to your number 4?
So you want back to my 4? We can do that.
We can swing it to me. It don't matter.
No, we can do that. So then my 4, we'll go right into my 4th. This one's kind of No, I don't call it a deep dive because cult-wise, it's a pretty cultish horror movie. A lot of people like it in our community. I just don't think a lot of people, like a lot of the normies, as we call them, know what this movie is. But I think Phantasm would make a great house. Phantasm, and you could, again, like Jeepers Creepers, like we've said already before, you can kind of take 1, 2, 3, and 4 and combine it into like one big Phantasm house.
Yeah, just a collection.
But, I mean, just what you can do with the Tall Man alone would I think would be really cool. Or the Gray Man,
especially with the still walkers,
yeah. So I think there's a lot of things you can do with him, and have him kind of like grow in size throughout the house.
Yeah.
The little silver ball things that he has that rolls people's heads out, blood spurts out. I think there's a lot of crazy, goopy things you can do with it.
Yeah.
The graveyard scene, we could do a big one.
Oh yeah.
You could have the scene of the little boy in the bed and have the arms come over him, and the big zombies come out and go in this stupid chair, dude.
This chair is good. We can switch it for the computer
I'm
chair.
about to stand in a second. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can do with it. Obviously, it doesn't lend itself to a ton of iconic scenes, but there's enough there that I think you could build kind of like their own take on that property. Yeah.
So then for my 4, I'm going sort of recent / books as well, and that's going to be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think this is similar to a lot of other horror movies that came out, Stranger Things, stuff along those lines, where it's the kind of kids driven storyline, haunted stories through the town. Like, it's a pretty simple story, but the characters from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I think, just lend itself well to good characters in a house. You have the scene out in the corn with Harold, you have like the big pale lady, you have all the I coming off the top of my head now, I'm forgetting a lot about, like, the witch's basement. I think you could tell the story almost to like Tooth Fairy-ish, like in that intro where it's like the narrator. You could have someone sort of not taking from the movie itself, but from the books, almost from like a literary sense, where it's being narrated to you and you're going through the different the different stories.
There's a lot to pull from with that property. Obviously, with the number of different stories that they've had, and I still think there's enough that HHN could use those stories and then maybe give us a little bit more if they would be given the right to do that. So, like, let's say give us more depth on Harold's character. Like, you can do a little.
Where can we take them?
Give you a little bit of liberty with some of it. But there is so much that they could pull from that they could just create a bunch of scenes that mimic the movie itself. Everything kind of changes.
There's endless source material too that like wasn't used for the movie. The movie is did a great job of portraying some of those very creepy illustrations, which if you didn't have those as a kid, you probably aren't a fan of horror today. But it's just, I think it's something that would be kind of cool to see, but will we see it at some point? I'm not sure, because it does kind of lend itself towards other properties. But so then I'll jump into my number 3, because God, I don't even know why I have it at number 3. This one, no, I'll leave it at number 3, but I could be persuaded. I could persuade myself to put this thing up to number 1. And again, this was something we talked about recently, and that would be a M. Night Shyamalan house. In every sense of the way. The fact that you
would put that at 1 blows my mind.
Oh, I would love to.
Blows my mind.
Like, just imagine walking through the village. From
I can imagine,
walking through the corn maze with the little aliens making noises. No, and I think, and I'm not sure, because I didn't know if I wanted to put The Village, or if I wanted to put Signs, or if I wanted to put Split, or Sixth Sense, or Glass, or any of those. So I just put it as an M. Night Shyamalan collection. They've done it before with Blumhouse. They've done it before with American Horror Stories. They've done it at the All Night Die-In, where they're sort of just compilations of various properties. But I think that this one would be like, I would spearhead the movement to get M. Night in there. The Village is one of my... Village and Signs are
we've talked about
one of my all-time horror movies. But I think, again, thinking about setting, thinking about costume design, like Sixth Sense and Unbreakable are some of his better ones, but they don't lend themselves very well for houses.
It's a lot of I think that for me, that's the only major problem with Shyamalan, is that not many of his movies lend themselves. I mean, Signs does, The Village does. maybe some parts of Sixth Sense
Yeah.
might lend itself
split a little bit,
but
you could have the character dressed up as different versions or whatever. But
the fact that it takes
that's more
place
psychological.
in one location, it'd be kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
But they've managed to do Saw too, so they could find a way to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like if you did just Village and Signs, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of, I mean, you're in the woods, you have the giant hedgehoggy creatures. You have the yellow, the yellow cloaks that they wear.
Yep.
The red color, the bad red color. I think there's a lot that lends itself there. And then Signs as well. You could be in the basement setting with the hand coming out. You could be out in the corn maze at night. You could be running. You could be walking around the house with like a sound and like a projection of something jumping over you. There's a lot of different things for Signs. You could
as long as I get a scare actor going, "Vamonos, vamonos, children!"
Yeah, right.
As we're walking by.
Which, like, in the shout out to Pod Mortem, I was listening to their episode on Signs, and it was something that like you notice but you never think about.
Yeah.
And that scene in particular, when he's watching the television broadcast from wherever they were, Mexico or something like that. It was
like Mexico or Spain.
And it's all in Spanish. And it's he's speaking in Spanish, and then all of a sudden one of the kids goes like, "It's behind."
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Why is he speaking in English?
Why does he say that one
Who's
line?
he saying it to in English? Like
Yeah.
so this little Mexican kid is speaking all in Spanish, all in Spanish, all in Spanish.
I know.
It's behind.
It makes zero
No
sense.
It's something that when I was listening
but it's
to
so Shyamalan that it almost works.
It's for the audience. Like, I get it. I was listening to their episode and I was like, wow, the amount of times I've watched this and I've like totally understood that he said it's behind.
But you don't
like,
think
I was
about
never
it.
like, why did he say that?
Yeah, you never question
that would
it.
never make sense. Like, sure. But yeah, I think it lends itself pretty well to a house. Will it ever happen? Absolutely not. But I can fucking dream. Womp womp womp. So we'll shoot it over to your number
to
3.
My 3, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so my 3 is one that I think we're probably gonna get. We've talked about it already in the past, but it's Candyman. I think that it's the fact that they haven't done a Candyman house yet. It still kind of blows my mind a little bit because obviously the original's a classic. The new movie was really good. I really liked it.
It was good. The visuals are great, and again,
the visuals are really
recognizable
awesome.
character.
Very recognizable character, and that's why I think it surprised me they haven't done it, because it's not like one of those movies where it's like ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty out there. Like we know who Candyman is. We know what he looks like.
Yeah, we know his deal.
There's a
his
lot
shit.
of things you can do. Again, kind of like I said earlier with the fly thing.
Yep.
Do the same thing with bees.
Yep.
Have him stand. Like, your major set piece in that house could be him in some room or whatever, and
being swarmed
and
visually or whatever.
Swarmed with bees, and you see him go like this or whatever, and the bees, are
Come
making
out towards
noise.
you.
They make out this
And you
way.
can do a lot of like that string effect where it's the the
makes you
invisible
think.
string, so you can feel
You
it.
can feel
something hit
exactly.
you.
So, not to get into a breakdown of the movie, but I think there's a lot of visual aspects of both movies that are really good.
A lot of cool mirror effects.
Yeah, so I think you could almost like combine, much like we said before, both movies into one house, and pull from both, and do a lot of those visual effects and visual tricks in the house as much as you can do it in the movie itself. So I think just it would really lend itself to a house. So not a lot to say about it. Everybody knows it's recent in everybody's memory, so I'll leave it at that. But that's definitely a property I want to see.
Yeah. No, that one could work out very well. I'd be all for seeing it. I feel like there's your A tier of slashers, your Michael, your Freddy, your Jason, your Leatherface. I guess Ghostface is sort of in there now too. Maybe Chucky. And then there's your B tier where it's kind of like your Pinheads, Candyman, Leprechaun, stuff along those lines where they're recognizable but not.
And they're more. I mean, to me, they're more iconic than I wouldn't necessarily call Candyman or Hellraiser a slasher movie.
Yeah,
but I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
like the horror
icon.
They're less recognizable icons than obviously the major ones. But yeah, that would be my guess for that one. And then my number 2 might surprise you, but I don't think they've done one. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I would love a Goosebumps house. Give me a wacky Like, just bring us back. I
Yep.
mean, this is already the
That would be
year
awesome.
of making millennials feel old. So let's just make us feel even older.
Yep.
And do a Goosebumps house. There, like you said before about scary things,
Scary Stories
stories in the dark.
Yep.
Same idea. Obviously, not the same visually,
campy, fun.
but there's so many stories. I mean,
Oh,
R.L.
you could
Stein is the king of just having. He's like
So many creatures.
he's like the preteens version of Stephen King when
Yeah.
it comes to just having all these different stories. So I think there's so much you can do.
I mean,
you could just pick a number of them.
It's endless. I mean,
Yeah.
The Blob, The Mask, Night of the Living Dummy,
thing under
Say
the
Cheese and
sink,
Died.
the kitchen sink or whatever. It
Don't
came
go in
from-
the
came from
basement.
don't go in the basement. It came from something, I forget where, but
The Street.
didn't like it came from the bait. What the hell was it?
There was Don't Go in the Basement.
Don't go in
and
the
then it
basement. There was
Came from
another
Under the
one.
Bed or
But,
something.
I mean, there were just so many good stories.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my personal favorites, like you said, Say Cheese and Die.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
The Blob is really good. The dummy ones.
Yeah.
Night of the Living
Was it
Dummy.
like Camp Blood and Guts?
Camp Blood and Guts
Something-
may have been one.
I might be butchering some of the names
The
at this
Mask
point.
one, whatever the hell they called
Yeah,
that one.
The Mask, yeah.
Yeah, that one was great. So there's just so many things you can do.
Yeah.
And just give me a whole bunch of scenes of different books.
Yeah.
I don't care if it doesn't have to be scary.
No.
I just want it to be fun and
I
goofy
mean, that's your
and out there.
That's your Goofy house. That's your clowns. That's
exactly.
your Ghostbusters.
That's my Ghostbusters house.
That's what it is.
So 8 to 10, if you need an idea, get me Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I'd be pumped. If you did Fear Street and Goosebumps and just get the whole R.L.
R.L.
Stein,
Stein.
just like thing going,
Yeah.
I'd be down.
I do a whole R.L. Stein event.
Yeah, just do an event with R.L. Stein.
All right, so we'll jump back to me for my number 2. Number 2 is again another compilation house, not as widespread of ideas as the last, but that would be a Conjuring house. Now, I would strictly stick for this one into the Conjuring movies.
Yeah,
So
I
it
would think you
be
would
1
have
and
to.
2. I wouldn't be doing like, obviously Valak is in 2, and that's kind of the story of the nun. But I wouldn't be going to like the nun settings, the
Right.
cathedrals, and so.
Because there's so many split offs. I mean,
Yeah.
you have The Conjuring, you've got Annabelle, you've got Nun, you've got all these different avenues that it's kind of gone in.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would need to do almost like when you say we need a Conjuring house, I think we all understand that we need a Conjuring house.
Yeah.
That doesn't not Annabelle. Like Annabelle have her own thing.
Yeah.
Valak and the Nun have his own thing.
Yeah, and I would do 1 and 2. I don't think 3 lends itself greatly for a house. Maybe 1 or 2 settings. It wasn't that bad of a movie. I think it was still fun. I don't think it was as well received as the other
'cause
two.
they're running it into the ground. We see that happen all the time with a lot of
Yeah.
these properties.
Which I think
Like
it's
nobody's
still,
asking for a Saw 6 house.
Yeah, no.
So,
But I think visiting the Conjuring 1 house. I think visiting the house in Conjuring 2 with the crooked man and
Yeah.
the old guy in the chair, and I think that's would be a fun house to visit, and it would be terrifying. That's a house that could be done to the extreme
I
scare
think with
level. I think,
that-
especially with the clapping, like from one.
right.
Like,
exactly. I mean, that one's pretty. I mean, I also think you could do with that one. I think you could kind of get away a little bit with playing with light levels. Like
Yep.
make that one a lot darker.
yes, yep.
Harder to see, because that lends itself to that movie. And they could kind of do some of those things with that. I know that there are obviously certain laws. They have to be, a certain level of light has to be provided and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I think you could definitely put it at the legal limit.
Yeah,
And make
push it.
that
Push it to the limit.
push it that one a
Push
little
it
bit
to
harder.
the limit.
Because much like the Amityville house would be less scare actor. Like there are obviously
Yeah,
some
more
scare
sounds,
actors,
feels,
but a lot
smells.
of it smells, sounds, getting some of that binaural scare, that sort of thing, make you feel disoriented a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that it's ghosts. There's ghosts hunting you, so that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then my number 1.
Well, we're down to the number unos. This is
Number
gonna be a quick
1.
episode.
Yeah, this is a quick one.
We're gonna be fast
Well,
with this one.
At first, I was like, I was like looking. I was like 25 minutes or so.
Oh, don't worry. I could spend.
We'll stretch it. I'm sure we'll
I could
stretch
spend
it.
an hour and a half.
And I'm sure
talking
we'll
about-
still stretch it a little bit. But yeah, this is a little bit of a shorter one. I think at first when I was like, oh, let's do a top 10, I was like, that might be a little long. But I guess we probably could have done it. But my
It's okay. I can talk for an hour on my number one. So.
Well, I'm sure. I think this is where we might line up.
I don't know. We'll see.
So my number 1 would be It.
It's not.
Wow,
We're
it's
not
not.
lining up.
Okay.
I left it out specifically because I knew you were going to put it in it.
Okay. And
I didn't want to I wanted to kind of be different. So.
Spoiler alert.
So
I was wearing it the whole time.
Oh yeah. So me not including it, everybody don't get angry. It's nothing to do with me not wanting it. I just know for a fact that he's going to put it on it.
Yep.
And I want it to be different. I love it. I want an it house.
Yeah. So again, this falls under that random category of it probably won't happen. Because why would they want another more famous clown to come to their event that has the most famous character?
No, but you
as a
could
clown?
totally do like a Jack versus
great.
Pennywise
It would
event.
be. But alas, I think the movies have shown us that visually it doesn't have to be more of a comedic take. Like, the 90s version was definitely more schlocky.
So yes and so.
It wasn't comedic.
This is
but
where
it
the
was-
episode gets long.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have an actual discussion about it. So I hate the impression that the TV movies were done almost as camp, like it's supposed to be camp. I think what happened was, oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. Tim Curry,
yeah.
Tim Curry lends a certain almost Beetlejuice quality to the character, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think they were trying to play it
No.
camp,
Yeah.
but I think just because Tim Curry is the way he is, it
came
kind
out
of
that
just
way.
came out that way.
That
Because I again, this is gonna get me slapped around by the audience, but I love the original two-parter.
Well, I don't think anybody debates. I think there's a soft spot for it, and it's definitely one of the properties that has like two very distinctly different takes.
There's a lot of
and they're both
for sure.
enjoyable. I think part of that campiness is the fact that it was a made-for-TV movie.
Right, it had to be
It
softer.
had to hit X amount, and I think also lighting came into effect. I think like it was produced obviously to be seen on a TV set, which in the 90s wasn't the most reliable.
Oh, they were also
And it was
CRT. They were bigger TVs. They were tube TVs.
Yeah, so it's just obviously there's a huge gap between
Right,
what
and
they
I
did
think
today
that
and what they
if
did
you're
then.
gonna do
but-
if you're gonna do it house, you have to pick one or the other. It either has to be the original It or the new It. It can't be both.
And it has to be, and I would say that it has to go to the new one.
I would assume.
The
I
new
would
version.
agree with that too. I think just it lends itself better to a Halloween event.
Yep.
than
And you
the
can
original.
smash the two together and completely
Yeah.
mix it up because, in two it starts with a really cool scene, or not starts with, but towards the end of it is when, in the double mirror maze room in the amusement park, something like that, be a good little scene right there. Obviously anything in the actual house itself, you can have all the scares that were pretty much like the hauntings of the kids before they realized what it is. Whatever that, like the little headless lady with the Easter bombs or whatever chasing them. You got the whole scene with the balloons all popping up. That would be a cool visual, or it's something that obviously you can't just keep popping balloons every time, but a very loud pop, 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 and like you could have a video of like the balloons disappearing. Maybe as you enter, maybe as you're walking down, you're walking towards like a wall of balloons, and they just pop at random times.
The factory burned down on Easter. That's why.
Yeah,
that's
so
why
she was like
Easter eggs.
delivering the Easter eggs and stuff like that.
Yep.
But no, I think that this is probably, and I'm surprised not as many people suggested it. I think the most suggestions was Hellraiser, but I think it.
Well, I also think there's just a.
It's just so good.
We are. I mean, how many years out are we from it, Volume 2,
4,
Chapter 2,
maybe
3 or 4 years?
That's what we're 2022.
Yeah. I think part of it's
2019.
people. It's just not as fresh in people's minds. I think Hellraiser is, like we said before, he's one of those classic characters.
Yeah.
I don't think Pennywise, as much as we like him, is
no.
necessarily up there in the pantheon of icons.
No,
At
'cause
least people are considering as an
Yeah.
icon. I think what hurts it a little bit is that people think just because they'll never get the rights to it,
It's not.
it's just never going to
It's
happen.
not
Why
gonna happen.
bother?
Yep.
Hellraiser, there's a real good chance they could do a Hellraiser. They've done it already
could if they
before.
want, yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
Yep.
I would love to see. Let's screw it. Let's just do a Stephen King event. Let's just do like Jack.
There's plenty to choose from.
Jack unleashes the
novel.
Well,
the author.
like he just like somehow like he releases.
He could be there signing autographs all night.
Yeah, he releases the the Stephen King universe into our universe.
A Pet Sematary
and we have
house.
a whole bunch of different houses. Pet Cemetery, It, bring back The Shining.
Yeah.
Do there's so many ones you can do.
Yeah.
So many great stories you could do that I think that would be great. And let Pennywise kind of be like the ringleader of it.
They lock Jack up or something.
Yeah, like he locks Jack up or whatever.
Continue the storyline of icons captured.
Yeah,
and Pennywise
exactly.
emerges and fills the void or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
Like,
you can
I
do
heard
with
you were
it.
looking for a clown.
Right, exactly. And if you can't get the rights to the new movies specifically, get the rights to Stephen King's book, and then just fucking do just do it as close as you can.
Do what you can. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a clown haunting a town in Maine.
Right.
But I think that if it's not on the top of your list of IPs that like completely like wish lists, then like.
And again, I think a lot of people are like me
know.
in the sense that like
They just know it's not coming.
I didn't put it on there because obviously
You knew we were talking.
I knew
about
we were
going to
talk about it. I also feel like a lot of people do, or I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Mm-hmm. Even though I really do want it to happen.
It would be nice.
I tried to stick with properties that maybe there's a small
Could
chance.
be, yeah,
there's a small
potential-
chance we can see it
potential.
happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
when I'm looking back at mine, like, I mean, maybe The Conjuring would be the closest to happening. Maybe Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think Jeepers Creepers is out the window. I think it's out the window, and I don't think they're gonna give M. Night Shyamalan a house.
No, they're not. They're never gonna do your boy right.
But in reality, maybe two of these could happen.
We need
maybe one.
If anybody out there listening to us, out of the 150 people of you that listen to us, if any of you know M. Night Shyamalan, you need to get his ass on our podcast because Nick would die.
Jesus Christ!
If we could interview M. Night, come on, man.
I know you're not. I know you're not doing.
I know you're not
anything
doing a whole lot.
except writing some more random movies. But
Yeah.
no, I mean he's still pumping some movies out.
He did.
Old wasn't terrible. And before we get off shot,
I've heard the acting was awful in it, but
Yeah, that's suspect.
I
but he didn't-
may have to watch it.
he
just
wasn't
to give
acting.
give it a chance.
I mean, he was in it still, but you know. All right, let's do over to your number one.
Oh,
I'm
my
excited
number
because
one?
there's no it.
My
So let's see
number
what
one.
we got.
So I'm cheating a little bit because I know they've done this series before.
Okay.
But they have not done this movie before.
Okay.
God damn it, Adrian! Give me a Halloween 3 season of the Witch House, motherfuckers. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll count it because you're
I
right.
am counting
They
it
have done
because
the
it's not
series,
Michael
but
Myers.
It's not Michael Myers.
It's not Michael Myers.
It's a completely different
This
movie.
is a movie that screams HHN House.
Oh, it's perfect for
I mean,
it. It fits it perfectly.
It needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you were this close. You're this
Oh,
close.
God.
We saw it on the spec map. We know you were thinking about it.
Yeah, you had the signs up in Hollywood.
Please do this
With
house.
Silver Shamrock.
And do not, I swear, do not make it just Hollywood. Bring it to Orlando.
Yeah.
We want it in Orlando.
Because I will fly there. I don't want to, but I will fly
I'll
there.
go to. Well, don't say that because if you say that, they're like, "Oh, well, they'll just go to fucking Hollywood." No,
anyways,
fuck
fuck
that. Fuck that. Bring it to Orlando. I know you're listening. Bring it to Orlando. And if you know if you do that, you'll make a lot of people happy.
Think of the merch that they would sell for this thing too.
Oh, there's
all the masks.
There's so, and I think
If they had
again,
replica masks there for $50 a pop, I'd buy all three.
you know, all joking aside, obviously they were thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
you said, they had the sign. There were some
They
things
had
coming
the factory, the Silver Shamrock factory signs. They were
So
up.
there is still a chance we may still get this. So I'm cheating a little bit in the sense that we obviously know this is definitely at some point in the pipeline. When it happens, who knows? But it needs to happen. I mean,
And it's a cheaper option. I feel like it could be done cheap. I don't know if the rights. I don't know how rights work.
I don't either. I don't care.
I would in my mind say that like, if whoever owns the rights for Halloween, like each movie is a different whatever. I would assume Halloween 3 would be a cheaper
Well, I
rights
think-
than like Halloween Kills.
yeah.
or,
Well,
you know,
I think what's his name there?
Carpenter.
No, the dude from the Middle East that like helped fund a lot of these movies.
Oh,
the one who died in that. So whoever hit that family, I'm forgetting his name, and I know you guys are gonna light me up for that, but I think they're all still owned by the same guy
Okay.
or the same family, the same production company. And they've done Halloween, they've done Michael more than
plenty of
once,
times,
so
plenty of
we
times.
know they can get those rights.
I mean, out of those big slashers, he was the most used.
Right, and I
And
feel
most
like
recent.
I think one of the big things you said just now that makes so much sense, and why it would make sense for them is that the merchandising with this one.
Oh.
I mean, you could literally sell thousands of dollars in masks.
I mean, look at what Killer Clowns did for merch. It's not the most well-known property.
Right, but it's so merch heavy.
But I'm
so
willing
much
to
stuff
bet
you can do.
you sold more Clowns merch than other stuff.
I mean, the T-shirts print
Yeah.
themselves.
Silver Shamrock, that's it.
Silver Shamrock House. Silver Shamrock shirt.
The
you can do
TV,
shirt,
you know,
TV with
whatever
the shirt,
day is still
the 3
Halloween,
masks.
Halloween,
You
yeah.
know, right. There's just so many things you can do with it. Plus, if I go in the house and we get that 8 more days to Halloween over and over again, I'll be pumped. I'll be pumped. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be pumped.
Halloween.
It has to happen.
You'd have a little scene with the kid like on the ground with like fake snakes coming out.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go through the movie, I mean, you could literally do.
Oh, it'd be great.
Have the dude with his head get ripped. Like have like the robot guy with the head in his hands, or smack the guy.
With the cars,
with the cars. You know, when you get to the actual
factory itself, it's like Willy Wonka gone bad.
Right. There's just so many things you can do with it. So yes, please, for the love of all things that is Halloween and horror and scary, do me a favor and bring this house to Orlando. I will die a happy man.
Yeah, this one, I think we talked about it a lot. Probably in the summertime when we were like really in the thick of the
we were
speculation
talking about
season.
the spec stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely brought it up multiple times because we saw it. We saw the
It was
stuff.
there.
We thought it was coming, and obviously something happened, and it didn't happen. So you've had a whole year. We're pretty much past the COVID stuff.
Recouping.
So, or the C word. So let's just make it happen.
Yep.
Let's just make it happen. And I'll buy every bit of merch that you
please.
put out. I'll spend thousands of dollars on your merch.
Yeah, challenge me.
Yeah,
Dare me.
Test me.
See how much I will spend on this thing. All right, well, that wraps up. Did you have any other like honorable mentions now that we're through the list? Because and if you didn't notice, I put on Paranormal Activity.
I do not have any
another non-HHN house.
It is
which probably
I forgot
wouldn't.
how much I love this first movie.
I love this whole series, but again, this is something that probably wouldn't lend well to a house.
No, not at all. But
Which sucks, but
you know, it's a great movie.
I mean, in the same sense, Blair Witch Project.
Katie's a smoke show, just so everybody knows. Like I was in.
What's funny is too, completely off topic, is when this movie released, she was still waitressing.
No, I was gonna say
And she was waitressing across from a movie theater, and guests had come in. They're like,
And they recognized
"Wait,
her.
are you in that? I just saw this movie. Were you?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that was me." And and that was probably her last shift before she realized, "Fuck this job, I'm
movie
out."
star.
Fuck you, Pories. All right, well, that wraps it up for this top 5 IPs that we will probably never see, but doesn't matter. The top 5 IPs that we have not seen at HHN yet that we would like to see.
I don't really have anything else to talk about.
No, I got nothing. This was a nice short one. Nice, quick, easy listen. You're welcome. We don't have to drag you on for hours. Check us back next week. We might have a little bit of a longer one. Next week, we are going through the top 10 HHN original houses
Oh boy.
that we need a sequel to.
Oh boy. This one's that might be a longer
So
episode.
this one will be a little bit longer. There'll be a little bit more digging done on our behalf. But let us know what you think. Are there some IPs that we didn't talk about that you would love to see? I know there's plenty of like non-horror IPs that we didn't talk about. We didn't really get in much into video games. One on Twitter that was talked about a lot was BioShock.
I've seen people mention that before.
Yeah. I haven't played through those games.
I've played through the
I've felt a
first
little
two.
bit, but
I
not,
never
like,
played
fully.
Columbia. I think there are a lot of things that are visually interesting about those games that lend itself to a house. Not very scary. I mean, I guess there are parts that are scary. The Big Daddies are pretty frightening when you have to fight them for the first time. But visually, it's very... I don't want to say steampunk, but just very industrial...
New World style.
Kind of, yeah. It's like old world mixed with new world industrial. It's really cool. It would lend itself pretty well. We've said it before. I want to see a Doom house.
Doom would be cool.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool
I was
to
even
see.
thinking like, hey, I know it's not a horror movie.
Halo.
But Halo. You can do
there's
something
a lot
with
of
like
things
the
we can
grunts
do.
and stuff like that.
I mean, have they done an alien house before? Like an actual alien house?
I'd have to double check, but I think he's been there in some sense.
Yeah, so do an alien house. Like do a strictly alien, like Nostromo house.
Well, they did Alien vs Predator.
Oh, did they? All right, well, give me just Alien.
Yeah.
I don't care about Predator.
But
Sorry.
all right, guys. Until next time, this is Nick.
And this is Shamus.
Beyonce.
Halloween 3, make it happen!
It's cursed. It's got a death curse.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out, Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.